Today we have a very special guest join us. We have Tuba Guclu. Tuba is one of the very first customers that Prodigy Finance has ever dispersed a loan to.
And I got into INSEAD in early 2010, but then I realized that I actually didn't have the money to pay for the tuition. And that's how I met Prodigy, luckily. I might have found another way, I don't know, or maybe not. I would have ended up not going, I don't know. So I don't know what the world would look like if I didn't go. So I'm really happy that it worked out in the end. Go after your dreams, go after what you want. Things may not exactly work out how you want it, but in the end, it always works out. Yes, it's expensive, and yes, it's scary, but it just opens up your eyes in a way that wouldn't happen when you stayed in your country.
Hello and welcome to the International Student Podcast by Prodigy Finance. My name is Cindy, and today we have a very special guest join us. We have Tuba Guclu. Tuba is one of the very first customers that Prodigy Finance has ever dispersed a loan to, and she completed her master's at INSEAD. She's done an MBA at INSEAD. She's currently working as a managing director at Accenture, and she's here today to share her study abroad journey with us. Welcome to the show, Tuba.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for having me. It's really exciting, and I think it's funny because I missed your first email. Thank you for following up.
Of course. Yeah, you are the original, one of our OGs, and it's super exciting to chat to you. So let's get started. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Tuba?
Sure. I'm originally Turkish, grew up in Turkey, went to university in Turkey, and worked in Turkey for a few years. And I already knew by then that I wanted to go to business school. So I did want to do an MBA. I understand the show is for all international students, but I did want to go to business school. And that was kind of, I guess, written in my objectives book. Not that I had one when I finished university. And then I moved to London in 2008, and then applied to the business schools next year in 2009. And I got into INSEAD in early 2010. But then I realized that I actually didn't have the money to pay for the tuition. And I realized that there were not a lot of financing options in Europe. Your listeners who know about the business schools and MBAs, they will know that it's something that was that's always been more popular in the US. Of course, there are now really, really, really great business schools in Europe, INSEAD being one of them. But I guess because of that, there were not enough financing options. And also because I always thought that I would end up in the US, I had not really thought about it. So I got my acceptance from INSEAD, and then I literally realized that I did not have the money to pay for the tuition. That's how then I think I applied for scholarships with INSEAD. I got a lot of no's, and that's how I met Prodigy, luckily. And then Prodigy helped me pay for the tuition for INSEAD. That I'm really happy that our paths crossed, and here I am, I guess, to pay back my gratitude.
Thank you so much. We are also super excited to be part of your study abroad journey, and we're so glad we could have helped you at that moment. We are so glad to have been able to support that dream earlier on. You said, typically people go to the US to go and study their, a business degree. Why did you choose Europe, particularly INSEAD and France?
So INSEAD has something very special. It's a 1-year program. And again, for anyone who goes to business school or who goes to any sort of graduate program, especially business school, because it's not like a typical graduate program where you also work as a research assistant that you can make some money. So you really go and you start working for some time. So you need to pay for your living expenses and you need to pay for your tuition. And so one of the biggest things with INSEAD is it's 1 year. So therefore it's from a cost perspective, it's actually a lot more economical, I would say. And then the other point is in Europe, I think in Europe in general, but for sure for INSEAD, the average years of experience people come to school with is usually around 5 years, whereas in US it's usually around 3. So when I applied to INSEAD, I had 5 years of experience. So from that perspective, I was actually a better fit to INSEAD than to some of the US schools. So those were probably the two very key points that it just felt like a great experience. You don't spend 2 years, which especially in my case, because I studied business at university and then I was working as a consultant. So when people come from diverse backgrounds like engineering or law or I don't know, you name it, anything that's not business, 2 year business school might be quite beneficial. But for someone who studied business for 4 years, who did management consulting for 5, which is quite a great also a first job, 2 year would probably a bit boring for me in some cases because I knew a lot of I knew it, so it was less about the academics around the business school, but more about the networking and the more soft skills, let's say, the development part of it. Therefore, INSEAD really fit the bill in a lot of those criteria.
And can you share with us today what your experience was like at INSEAD? Did you gain the networking and meet new people and gain the soft skills that you mentioned?
For 100%. So INSEAD is known for the party school of
The
business.
party school?
And we don't disappoint. I mean, of course, joking aside, I'm being a little tongue in cheek, but one of the great things about INSEAD, which I knew it, but again, when I went there, I realized it a lot more is it's truly an international experience. There is not one single nationality that is dominating. So all nationalities are really equally represented, and it really brings that international experience and perspectives, which I think is really really special in that regard. Again, it wasn't something I had thought about when I applied and I decided to go to INSEAD, but I'm really happy I did that. Whereas US school in some ways I'm sure it would have been great, but also maybe it would have been a bit too US focused, especially because I never wanted to work in US. So I always wanted to be in Europe. So it's absolutely brilliant in terms of the community that INSEAD builds. And there is of course the professional networking part type of things, but also the friendships that you build. That's really really special. So I still have my WhatsApp chats and we still meet. I don't know, once a year or so. Some of my best friends are people that I met in INSEAD that I see on a weekly basis. It's really really special, but also from a professional perspective as well. I know if I need the support, I can reach out to INSEAD network and they would respond to me the way I respond to people. So absolutely. And it's also because of that international experience, because of that diversity, it's also quite humbling in many ways because you really meet people from different backgrounds and who have been through different educations, and it's really a special experience. So absolutely, it's been really special, and yeah, it's the best club you can be part of.
Wow, that's so nice to hear. I mean, after it's been how many years since you've
So
graduated?
it will be 15 years. So we have our 15th year anniversary next June. I've already booked my hotel. I actually booked 2 hotel rooms. I was so excited, I guess. So it's going to be 15 years in next summer.
Amazing. So even after 15 years, you still have that WhatsApp group, you still in communication and oh, that's beautiful. So it really is true what they say about building lifelong friends when you study abroad.
Yeah, 100%. It's really, as I said, it's one of my best friends are from INSEAD, and in some cases it actually cuts across promotions. So it's not only people that I studied, it's also people that I somehow met in London after school that really became a big part of my life. So it's really a special bond.
Beautiful. And Tuba, let's talk about the financial aspects of studying abroad. You kind of mentioned it already about, looking for scholarships, and then you discovered Prodigy Finance and we were able to assist. How did you hear about Prodigy Finance and what was your experience like?
Good question. I was thinking about it. I think INSEAD might have guided me to Prodigy because, again, as I mentioned in the beginning, so I was already working in London when I applied to business school, and when I got into INSEAD. But having said that, I think even if I lived in Turkey, I don't think I would have been eligible for one of the scholarships because I think it really targeted. It was limited, so there were not. It wasn't abundant, and I think it really targeted candidates from lower income countries. But long story short, like I wasn't eligible for anything, and I did have, I did have the funds to finance myself for a year of not working, but I literally did not have the tuition other than the first whatever much I had to pay to guarantee my
Yeah, the
my
deposit.
yeah, the deposit, and Prodigy helped me. So I'm really happy that that worked out. I might have found another way, I don't know, or maybe not, or maybe I would have ended up not going. I don't know. So I don't know what the world would look like if I didn't go. So yeah, I'm really happy that it worked out in the end.
And right now, you are a managing director at Accenture. Talk to us about that.
Sure. So as you said, I'm a managing director, and I work in one of our industry groups. So I do specialize in aviation. So that's something I had already started working at before INSEAD. And INSEAD was a bit of a soul searching, but in the end, I decided to go back to where I was before. It was a specialized company called Seabury, which was very well known and is still very well known in the industry. So I did go back to Seabury, and I did build quite a successful career. And then Accenture acquired Seabury back in 2017, and that's how I ended up at Accenture. Again, I guess I'm I did build a decent career. I'm still here. So in that way, I did change companies, and I didn't, and here I am here. So I do have a regional role. So I'm part of the EMEA Aviation Leadership Group. So we advise airlines in large transformations, and yeah, I work with my colleagues in different countries, and get to travel, get to kind of enjoy that international experience, continue on that international experience, which is great. And yeah, so that's where I am right now.
Amazing. And just in closing, Tuba, what advice do you have for an international student?
I think really go after your dreams, like go after what you want. Things may not exactly work out how you want it, but in the end, it always works out. Um, I and sometimes there are obstacles on the road, but it does work out, and I think it pays off to persevere. I know it sounds all very generic, but it pays off to persevere. And I think it's just important to also embrace the process, embrace the new situation you're in, and um whether you're in Europe, in the US, wherever you are, whomever you're surrounded with, it's really immerse yourself in that experience. I think that's really that's studying abroad, or like doing an international degree. It is, as much as it is academic, it's also about that experience, that worldliness that it brings you. And again, in my case, it was more that worldliness than academics. Maybe it doesn't mean it will be like that for other people. It's just because of my university background, that's how it was for me. But whatever it is, I think just embrace and be open minded. That would be my advice. And yes, it's expensive, and yes, it's scary, but it just opens up your eyes in a way that wouldn't happen when you stayed in your country, you can always go back, right? So we can always go back. But I think those experiences are really special.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Tuba, for chatting to us today and sharing your story, and also for those beautiful words of encouragement. Thank you to our listeners today. If you want to find out more about Prodigy Finance, visit our website, www.prodigyfinance.com.